Guys, what's going on? We have the week 14, I believe, 14 recap here. We got Kaleem and George battling in one of the one of the sides of the quarterfinals. Kaleem comes out on top of this game, 107 to 87. Uh, you know, I was looking across the board of all the games this week, and it was very low scoring. I think the highest was like in the 110s. So Kaleem scoring 107 really was the you know considered pretty good this week. Just looking at the other matchups, Barkley, Aaron Jones, and a very good start by him starting Josh Allen. Um, he sat Joe Mixon. Interesting choice, but it really didn't hurt him at all. I mean, Lindsey had 13, and the other two had more than. Well, Jones didn't have as much, but he still had 18 points. Um, the only thing that I'm looking at Kaleem's team that could hurt him is his wide receiver situation. Golden Tate has not been the same. I mean, he did have a good game against Washington, but in reality, since he got traded, it really hasn't been much for him at all. And with Wentz seemingly, I think, going down for the year, it looks like. Um, doesn't really say. He's probably for the fractured vertebrae. I don't see him playing. Um, he might have a little issue with that second wide receiver spot, which is very important for him for any team. But he goes on to the semifinals, beats George, who managed to have 8 wins out of the second fewest points in the league. So congratulations to him on a very well managed season. He really didn't get much from his two wide receivers, started Sutton and DJ Moore. He definitely didn't foresee those two starting for the playoff game when he drafted his team. I couldn't even tell you who he drafted at wide receiver. I mean, he did have Diggs as his flex, but other than that, I'm not sure whose other wide receivers that he drafted were. Um, David Johnson and Jeff Wilson Jr. both combined for 20 points. Um, and Jameis was a good start by him, but other than that, it was really not much. He managed 11 points out of his defense, and his kicker got him 12. But that was not nearly enough. It would have been enough to beat either me or AK this week, that's for sure. Um, I like it. At 78 points, I'm not expecting to beat anyone, so I was not disappointed when Thielen only scored me 10 points when I only needed about like 13 and a half to beat AK. Um, what did screw me over though was the Reed and Crowell injuries, and basically Crowell got hurt, I believe, on the fourth play of the scrimmage. I watched the entire game. Reed, I'm not sure what happened. I believe he also got injured in the first quarter as well. Um, I just I just needed another 3 points combined out of those two, and I would have went on, and my team would have lived to fight another day. But that just didn't happen. The main topic of concern for me was starting the Redskins defense over the Seahawks. Seahawks defense, I was actually this wouldn't even been a discussion because I only usually roster one defense on my team, but I was planning ahead with them. I had them on my roster for last week for the San Francisco game, and I wanted to keep them on the roster because I was planning to not start them this week, but the following week again against San Francisco. There was never a consideration by me to start the Seattle defense over the Redskins. I just thought the Redskins had the better matchup with um, the Giants at home when they needed the game with no Odell Beckham. But I was sadly mistaken about basically the life left in the Redskins franchise because they looked very much dead. Uh, AK, he scored 3 more points than me. He really didn't have much better of a day. He did get better performances out of his top players, with Chubb and Adams putting up really good games. Breeze Kamara really didn't do much considering what they've been doing the entire year. And even on his bench, there was really no other options for him to play that would have been better. I mean, look at across the board with the second half of his team with Cooks, Graham, Ridley. His defense, his kicker, really not much. But his team has a lot more explosive potential than mine going forward because he was 8-5 with Brees and Kamara, and he only scored 81 points this week, but that could easily change this week because he's been doing it all year. So let's take a quick look at the preview. We'll be at the Thursday night game in less than 2 hours. We got Kaleem and Fawad. Fawad with 11-2, the first for the best team basically the entire year. With Ty hurt, it's gonna be interesting to see what he does. This game is completely up in the air. I know Kaleem is 8-5, but Kaleem has had very good weeks where he just has that potential to drop 150 on any given notice. I mean, Mixon, Barkley, and Allen, not Josh Allen, Keenan Allen, have the potential to just put up, like 65, between 65 and 80 points combined. Those guys are extremely explosive, along with Lindsey. So this could be very interesting. It's basically a matchup game. I mean, Gurley is due for he did score 30 points in Detroit, but he's been kind of low-key slowing down just a little bit over the last, I would say, 5 weeks compared to what he was doing the first 8. I think he's due for one of these monster 30-point games like he did 2 weeks ago. And James White also hasn't. Let me see what James White's done. Yeah, I mean, he's kind of slowed down a little bit as well. I think Fawad's team is due for like a 130, 140 game. This is going to be a very close game. And he's going with the double tight end starting as well. And he's starting the Jaguars defense against the Washington, just hopeless Washington Redskins. But Kaleem's also got the Ravens defense against Tampa Bay, but Tampa Bay has been putting up some points. Yeah, I mean, it looks like Kaleem's even starting Dante Pettis this week. I mean, we just talked about his second wide receiver not really doing much. Pettis has been very good the last 3 weeks. He's got to hope that he does that against a tough Seattle defense. This can be very close. I mean, he has Josh Allen against the Lions as well, and Josh Allen has really done pretty well, not with throwing. Trust me, not with throwing. I've watched these Buffalo games. It's with his legs that's really getting these fantasy points. I'm extremely low on Josh Allen's future as an NFL quarterback, but he is basically in Tebow territory where he gets a lot of his points on the ground, and it helps him at the fantasy, or make him fantasy relevant. Now we got Yates versus AK, and look, AK is favored in this game. I mean, that means absolutely nothing, but just interesting to see with the teams just coming off an 81-point week, favored against Yates, who seemingly has the highest ceiling over any team. I mean, he has Amari Cooper, who would have, I'm assuming he might have even considered dropping him earlier this year. I know other teams. I know I've been in other leagues where he has been dropped, and then obviously picked up. But AK is essentially not completely riding on Brees and Kamara, but a lot of what he does, like his potential, is based on those two players. I mean, and they're playing in Carolina. I believe it's a Monday night game. And I mean, Brees has 20 points combined the last 2 weeks. I think Kamara's fared a little bit better. No, not really. I mean, Kamara hasn't had a 20-point week in 4 weeks now. So you can almost say those two are due. And this is against a Carolina team who's looked like they quit. But this is a home game in a primetime setting, so they might just show up just because of that. He still has Chubb, Adams in Chicago, though. Cooks, who I think has a very good potential to have a breakout. I think that whole Los Angeles team, I think this is a Sunday night game. I think I think they're going to all just drop a 45-point bomb. They're due. AK is also starting Marlon Mack this week, who hasn't done much, I would say, at all since his bye week. But he's playing Dallas soon. Dallas has been tough. And he has the Falcons defense at home versus Arizona. Interesting start by him. And Fawad has the Rams D, or not Fawad. Yates has the Rams D at home versus Philly. Mahomes, McCaffrey, Ingram. This team is just loaded. These guys are just point producers. I mean, looking at these wide receivers, I mean Cooper. I'm just looking at traditionally for what he's done with Oakland. But I got to get in this. I got to get into my mind that this is now Dallas Cowboy versus Amari Cooper. So you never know. I mean, I don't even know what he's going to do. I mean, it's hard to project because I mean he's kind of almost been up and down. He's 44 points, then he has 9, then he has 34, then he has 5, then he has 10. So it's hard. To, it's tough. You never know what you're going to get out of him. But it's safe to assume that coming off a 44-point week, he's going to at least be semi-effective. And with Edelman, he's been very, very, very consistent since he has come back from his injury or suspension. Sorry, suspension. Brait has been pretty solid for him, considering he was a pickup for him since he kind of picked him up. Tight end's been tough this year, man. Even something like Cameron Brate. I mean, if I had Cameron Brate on my team last week, I would have been not in this match. I'd be playing Fawad, I think. I know. I would have been playing Fawad. No, I would have been playing Yates. Sorry, I can't think. Yeah, so this is the preview for those two games. I don't like making predictions on the stuff because no one knows anything. It's hard to predict. But to me personally, I think it looks like it could be the top two teams facing off against each other with Fawad and Yates, which has been the case all year. All right, so that's kind of it for the preview this week. We next time I see you, we're gonna have the championship game in the kind of all settled. Sorry for a later video this week. I've been absolutely swamped. You can probably hear in my voice. I'm just emotionally done with this week. It's just been so busy, but happy to provide the content for you guys. So good luck to the 4 teams from mating, and it's going to be a good football week coming up, or a good football weekend. We have a great game tonight, and should be a lot of fun. So good luck to everyone involved.